We got new cards coming out in a couple of days with this new event, the Venusaur drop. We're going to give our thoughts on the new cards, as well as decks we think you might want to try with them. I think this could really shake up the meta. I'm going to be joined by my co-host, Willow. Let's jump into it. All right, we got an upcoming Venusaur drop event. It's going to be similar to the Lapras one. For me, it starts on the 28th. Yeah, we can go ahead and jump into this event. We could see the promo packs drop rates over here. We got a 12.66% chance of Venusaur, Greninja at 15.82, Haunter at pretty much 24, Onix and Jigglypuff as well. And these are them. And we are gonna talk about Jigglypuff and Haunter quite a bit because those are actually new cards. They have different effects. And we also wanted to talk about our deck lists that we're going to build with them that maybe you might want to try or not, and maybe they'll be good or not. But yeah, Willow and I both made some decks. How do you feel about this event coming up, Willow?
I'm excited for our second set of promo packs. You know, our first set was pretty fun, hunting down those cards, regardless of how lucky you were. It was a fun seeing everyone's reaction to either getting Lapras or not. We don't have as big of as an exciting chase card this time around. Like last time, Lapras was like a brand new EX card, so that was fun and exciting. This time, the big chase card is just an alternate art for Baby Venusaur, which is seeing literally zero play. So that's a bit disappointing. The chase card this time around is literally just a collector's item. No one's going to be using this at a high level, and even at a medium level, it's like, why would you play this over Venusaur EX? So yeah. That's a bit disappointing, but it's exciting that we're getting two brand new cards, especially the Jigglypuff. I feel like a lot of people have been looking forward to that Jigglypuff for quite a long time. So,
yeah, I think Jigglypuff is going to be good. Well, definitely way better than the current Jigglypuff. I think Haunter is actually a little bit worse than the current Haunter, but I kind of like that the more rare card sucks. It looks great. It's more like of a collector thing, but I kind of like that because a lot of people like really wanted the Lapras, even though Lapras also sucked. And they opened like 50 packs and they didn't get a single Lapras. In this situation, I feel like it's not a big deal if you don't get the Venusaur because, again, it's just cool art. But like Greninja is actually pretty good. If you haven't pulled a Greninja yet, this might be a great way to get Greninja. And then Jigglypuff kind of, in my opinion, being like the chase of this, but you're going to get it so easily. I think that's nice. I kind of like that.
yeah, you say you're going to get it easily, but the highest odds, sharing the odds with Clefairy from the last event, I only got one Clefairy, and I'm just saying if that happens with my Jigglypuff, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, well, how many? I don't know. I feel like I opened so many packs. I had a lot of Clefairies. I think it's a skill issue on your part.
True. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, we know it's going to be stamina related, just like the last one. And then Expert's going to give you 100% chance of getting a pack, because if you're doing it on beginner, you only have a 51% chance of getting the pack. And if it's anything like last time, it's incredibly easy to just grind on Expert. I think it was easy for most people. I could even do like auto battles. I was kind of like, while I'm editing or doing something, I just have the auto battle going off as well, because if you lose, you do not lose your stamina. So that's kind of nice. And I think each stamina costs 1 gold to refill. So if you really want to speed through this, I feel like it's not that expensive. How much is it? 6 gold is $1? Approximately. I guess
that sounds about right. About a dollar a pack sounds reasonable.
I think it's something like that. So I don't know. It's about 20-ish cents per stamina per pack.
We're gamers. We're not good at this math. Okay, we spend the gold. We're happy. We move on.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you could definitely do this just by doing it free to play. But if you want to spend like 10 gold to get packs and kind of expedite your card acquisition, it's not terrible. But yeah, free to play is definitely
as soon as you
possible.
have that expert thing unlocked, you should be playing expert at all times. Even if you only beat it 50% of the time, it still mathematically makes most sense to do the expert thing because you're guaranteed the pack. and losing has no consequence. You don't lose the stamina or anything like that. I feel
Yeah.
like that's not communicated to you very well in game, which is very unfortunate. I feel like there's probably a decent number of people who play on the lower difficulties, hoping that that's giving them like a some type of advantage, right? Maybe they're not the best player in the world. They're just trying to make sure they get some amount of promo packs, but really they should, even if they only win one every 10 times, they should still be jamming the expert mode just to get the guaranteed pack for the stamina.
Yeah, and we'll look at the decks that we're expecting the opponents to run, and I think it's going to be pretty easy to kind of target and just win with auto, because it's this. It's just like some what is it? What is this deck? It's just a jumble of cards. It's got Scyther, it's got Paris, it's got Kakuna maybe. It's got Go-Goat, and this is going to be very easy to beat. Maybe not the Lilligant Venusaur.
Yeah, the expert one's the hardest one, which is the Lilligant Venusaur. But if you know anything about my opinions on Lilligant, this should still be easy. You know what I'm saying? Lilligant overrated. You'll destroy this thing. Chuck a Rapidash and a Blaine in your deck. One shot this thing and move on.
Well, I love
one shot, but
I love Lilligant, but yeah, if you just do like probably like an auto like Blaine deck, you're gonna do just fine. It's hyper aggressive and it's just gonna burn these down very quickly. Yeah, it'll be pretty easy. These are supposedly the deck lists that the opponents are going to run, but I think last time these were wrong, so the data mine might be wrong again. But yeah, when you are using your stamina, make sure you're using it on the hardest difficulty possible, because like Willow said, even if you win 50% of the time, it only consumes one stamina. Anytime you're successful, it'll consume a stamina. If you do it on beginner, you're always using a stamina, but you only have a 50% chance of getting the pack, so it kind of makes it way worse. Yeah, you got anything else to add on this? I feel like it's pretty much the same as Lapras. If you're used to Lapras, then there's nothing new.
Yeah, nothing much else to add. I will say I like that these events are PvE missions. It's kind of a cool way to get people playing the game if they're not particularly engaged with the PvP side, if they're just kind of like in Pokemon Pocket for the collector side. I like that this gets people actively playing the game, maybe pushes them towards the PvP stuff. Kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could jump into some of the decks we want to try with the new Jigglypuff and Haunter. Maybe we'll jump into Jigglypuff first. Let me pull up my list here, which is mine's just a Dragonite Jigglypuff list, which is actually Willow's is also Dragonite, but kind of a different spin on it. But I'm just gonna be trying this out on Dragonite first thing, because normally I run like a King in the front, but this time I'm trying Jigglypuff, because pretend these Jigglypuffs are the singing Jigglypuffs. Pretend these are in the game already, and we've got those instead of these ones. You're basically just stalling, building up your Dragonite, putting your energies on your Dragonite, and then you just bring them out, and then you start shredding. Generally, with 2 Dragonite triggers, you're gonna win. Just 2 Draco Meteors, and it's over, unless you're really unlucky. But yeah, we're also running 2 potions, 2 X speeds, 2 Pokeballs, 2 red cards, 2 researches, and 2 Sabrinas. Now, the red cards you definitely don't need. You could put like a Giovanni or something if you want, or if you wanted another basic Pokemon, you totally could, or maybe even like 1 copy of Wigglytuff or something, just to stall a little bit of time. Maybe not the EX. But yeah, this will probably do okay. It did well with King instead of Jiggly, and I think just being able to constantly put them to sleep is going to make this a little bit better. But you got a totally different. You got a Koga build. Yours is a little more spicy than mine. Mine's a bit boring, to be honest. But
I don't know if I love the Koga stuff in Dragonite. Okay, but for the longest time I've been convinced Hypno Dragonite is the way to go. If you're playing Dragonite, you should be doing double Hypno. I'm a huge fan of Hypno. I think the math makes sense. Oftentimes, the difference between winning and losing with Dragonite is just 1 turn of speed, whether you're catching up or just falling behind. It's usually just a 1 turn difference. If I had 1 more turn to attach an energy, or if I had 1 more turn to swing with Draco Meteor, and generally that's why I like Hypno in those decks, is because if I have Hypno on my bench, I'm triggering sleep paralysis or whatever the move's called. I forget what it's called, but
yeah,
if I trigger that 4 times throughout the game, odds are that I skipped at least 1 turn, and that often makes a difference between winning and losing. But as that deck has kind of evolved, I've needed more stalling, and I've been running one coughing and one wheezing in that list, and just the one Koga, so the one of the full line, and it's felt pretty decent. And now with the addition of Jigglypuff, who is a guaranteed sleep, so a 50% chance that they skip a turn, I'm thinking that she might end up replacing Hypno in the list, just because Jigglypuff is providing like such a unique piece of utility, a one cost guaranteed sleep that is colorless does not exist anywhere else in the game. Every other sleep condition has way more steps to it. Snom, for example, requires 2 energy and needs to be evolved from Frostmoth needs to be evolved from Snom, has a 2-cost sleep effect. Baby Articuno is a 3-cost paralysis. All of these cards that skip a turn for the opponent have so much more commitment than Jigglypuff does. The problem is Jigglypuff has 50 health, so it's possible that after a few games of playtesting, I'm like, okay, well, Hypno is better. Let me get rid of this Jigglypuff because it's got 50 health and it just keeps getting blown up. But I'm very excited to try out this Jigglypuff, and I guarantee you, because of everything I just said, that she's the lowest investment, both from a deck building perspective, a cost investment, and number of cards invested. She is the cheapest and most flexible sleep condition in the game now. She will see play in something. I'm not convinced it will be Dragonite, but she will see play in something. That will be true. There's no way that this is as cheap as it is and as flexible as it is, and it won't see play in something moving forward. But this is going to be my starting point for the new Jigglypuff.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are playing Wigglytuff lately. I've been a big fan of Wigglytuff. I don't think you are. But just swapping that Jigglypuff for this Jigglypuff might be like the ultimate way to go. Because the more I think about it, the more I'm a little bit hesitant about Jigglypuff just being good as like an include instead of like a Kangaskhan or something like that. Because you sing, which is great, but again, you're 50 HP. So you put them to sleep for sure. But if they evolve, they get rid of that status ailment. And I feel like if this is coming out early game, you're probably going to be playing against things that evolve, unless you end up hitting the sing on like an EX that they put out, like a Articuno or like a Moltres or something like that could really pop off. But if they put something up front that can evolve, that's going to make the Jigglypuff a lot less good. Because if you just evolve into a stage 1 and then you one-shot the Jigglypuff because the sleep doesn't matter because you evolved, that might feel bad.
Yeah,
so maybe it's like a tech. Like tech against Mewtwo.
Yeah. Sleep in all status conditions, but sleep especially is much weaker in the early turns of the game. So you don't want to be leading with Jigglypuff because of exactly what you just said, which is you put something to sleep, they just evolve through it. And it feels really bad from your perspective, especially because she only has 50 HP. If you put something to sleep, they evolve. I assume whatever they're evolving into probably has something that deals 50 or more damage, right? Stage 1 and onwards is usually dealing, at least all of the good ones, right? Your Voltorbs, your these types of things they're currently seeing play. Jigglypuff's probably dying if they evolve through it. So yeah. But you are right that this Jigglypuff is just going to replace the old Jigglypuff. If there's any list that's currently running Jigglypuff, there's no way. I refuse to believe something is very wrong about my understanding of Pokemon Pocket if 2 cost 30 damage is worth it over this version of Jigglypuff just for the plus 10 HP on because this Jigglypuff has 10 less HP than the current Jigglypuff we have. There's no way that 10 HP is that much more valuable that we have to be running a card that has a 2-cost attack for only 30 damage compared to this 1-cost sleep. I just do not believe it is the case. So this will definitely replace current Jigglypuff, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good card. But the theory we're doing right now is just like kind of slotting it in as that 1-cost colorless. Instead of, I know a lot of people are like into Farfetch'd or whatever. A lot of people are into King. Some delusional people into Snorlax. But yeah, Jigglypuff might kind of fill that void. Maybe. We'll see. That's our theory going forward with these decks. But yeah, you got two Weezing lines, 2 Dragonite lines, 2 Kogas, 2 Jigglypuffs, then 2 X-Beats, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor's Research. Seems pretty straightforward. You just have your Weezing out front to tank, to gas them. I'm assuming you're not running Dark Energy here. You're just gassing them, tanking, and then you're going to bounce with the Koga and put in that Dragonite to kind of seal the deal, which is pretty good. And you don't care if Weezing dies too much or gets knocked out too much because it's 1 point. Yeah, and your Dragonites are also 1 point.
Weezing's just there to stand there. Honestly, all of your prize points when you're playing a Dragonite deck don't really matter because it's it's just like, is Dragonite alive? That's that's all that matters. If they kill Dragonite, game's over anyway. So you don't need to worry about your prize points as much. Obviously, you don't want your 2 Jigglypuffs dying and then a Weezing dying, right? Because then you lose the game. But outside of like literally just losing the game, your prize points are irrelevant because all that matters is that you're keeping Dragonite alive. And to that point, yeah, you don't care if your Weezing or your Jigglypuffs are dying, as long as they're stalling long enough that you're giving time for Dragonite to come out and close out the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this will be fun. I kind of want to try like just my Wigglytuff decks that I've always been enjoying, like my Beedrill Wigglytuff, which is literally just 2 Beedrill lines, 2 Wigglytuff lines. Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it. Maybe I was just playing against people who weren't too good. And I mean, if you're playing against fire, it's probably a little bit rough, but that's why your Wigglytuff can carry. I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's not an S tier deck, but it's a S tier fun. And that's what it's about.
Hey, this is a little bit of a side tangent. How do you feel about Vileplume versus Wigglytuff? Because they're very similar cards.
I like Wigglytuff because it's a stage 1.
Gotcha. I've been playing a lot of Executor Vileplume. I have so much fun with that, and I love that Vileplume can be targeted with Erica, and obviously Jigglypuff can't. Wigglytuff can't. So that's like kind of the big trade-off. Wigglytuff is stage 1. She's an EX, so she gives up 2 prize points. But being a stage 1 is a big advantage. But Vileplume's advantage is that she can be targeted by Erica, and I love that. It's a really nice piece of utility.
Yeah, I generally, it's like a big no-no for me to run 2 stage 2 lines. So if I'm playing Beedrill, I don't want to run also Vileplume. But if I'm doing Executor, I think Vileplume is fine. I also really like running like Lilligant Vileplume. But that's, now we're not talking about Jigglypuff anymore. We're talking about Vileplume.
I was just curious about the Vileplume comparison.
No, I like Vileplume a lot. Yeah, I think Vileplume is a bit slept on for, no pun intended. But let's talk about the next card, which is going to be Haunter. I do think Haunter is maybe honestly like a worse version of the current version of Haunter. So I'll try it out, but it is 10 less HP. It does do 20 more damage with surprise attack, but it's a coin flip, and I don't like that variant. So to me, this says do 25 damage, almost, because it's like it's going to hit 50% of the time. If you split it down the middle, it'll hit 50 and then it'll whiff. Then it'll hit 50 and then it'll whiff. It does one-shot Jigglypuff, so maybe that'll end up mattering somehow. But
it does matter, right? They sleep your Ghastly, you evolve through it, you go to the Haunter, you win the coin flip, and you kill their Jigglypuff.
Yeah, 150 is pretty good. So it's nice in theory if you land it, but for me, when I'm playing a Gengar deck, I just need to live. And Haunter at 80 HP already feels so squishy to me. So you just want this thing to live, and you kind of want it on your bench, I think. So for the list I want to talk about, it's just this Gengar EX list. We're running 2 Gengar EX lines and 2 Kings in the front. I guess you could try Jigglypuff here if you want, but I think your deck will be too squishy. I call this Gengar, and it's been one of my favorite Gengar lists that I have tried. That being said, it's not very good, mostly because Gengar sucks. But this has been like my favorite and my personally most successful Gengar list, where you have King in the front line, just doing damage for only 1 energy investment while you're building up the Gengar, and then they deal with the King, and then you pull Gengar out, and they're kind of locked down. This doesn't perform too well in the meta, but sometimes it pops off, and it's fun. Running 2 potions, 2 X speeds, 2 Pokeballs, 2 researches, 2 Giovannis, and 2 Sabrinas. And it's not. I don't know. I'm a little hesitant about Haunter. So you could try messing around with normal Gengar here as well, if you wanted to, but it's hard to pull off the EX if you're using a normal Gengar. Yeah.
Look at you showing off this is why you're showing it off in game, huh? It's because you want to be able to show off those full art Giovannis and full art Sabrinas. Look at you, man.
I do have like all the trainer. I have 2 copies of each trainer in full art.
You. Oh my god.
I know.
I've been chasing a Misty since I got full collection. I've been opening up Pikachu packs nonstop. I cannot find that Misty to save my life.
Well, to make you feel better, I got 4 Sabrina full arts and 4 Ericas, but I only got 1 Blaine and 1 Brock, so that's kind of,
Okay, well, when trading opens up, I dibs some of these, okay? I need Need some
Well,
pull-ups.
what am I getting in return?
Whatever you're gonna have every card in the game by then, Mr. Whale. Okay, you're probably still full spending every day.
No,
Okay.
I'm not. All right, well, let's look at your Gengar list. You just got 2 Gengar EX lines and 2 Meowths.
Yeah, basically the theory is, and keep in mind, I'm under the impression Gengar's really quite bad. So I don't know what a good Gengar deck looks like. But if we assume for a second Gengar is not bad, and we do want to be using Gengar, well then finding our Gengar should be very important to our overall strategy. And I think the speed at which Gengar gets into the active spot is very important. Shutting down those supporters earlier seems better than shutting them down later. And ideally, Gengar wants to sit in the active spot for as long as possible. So my theory is that forcing card draw with Meowth, and I'm even running a Pokédex in there because if you haven't seen the Pokédex tech before, you Pokédex, you check the top 3 cards of your deck, you Pokeball, which will shuffle your deck, so you can see if you like the top cards on your deck. So maybe there's like a Gengar there, and you really need to draw the Gengar. Instead of playing Pokeball, you just won't play the Pokeball so that you'll draw it. Or if you don't like the contents of your top 3 cards, you Pokeball, shuffling your deck, and then you know that the cards you draw are not going to be the 3 cards that you saw. So basically the idea is that I'm just trying to increase the consistency at which I find Gengar as much as possible, because the very foundation of the deck is assuming that Gengar is good, and if Gengar is good, a big part of his strategy is going to be staying in play for a long time. So my whole strategy is that we just need Gengar in the active. That's it. And yeah, honestly, I don't think it's particularly strong, but I think this will be the best home for our new Haunter. Just to talk about it a little bit, because I haven't had the chance to just yet. I do actually think that this Haunter is probably ever so slightly better than current Haunter, but it is a very close call. Basically, my theory is that even though Gengar wants to be in the active spot, because he wants to be in the active spot, you don't want Ghastly or Haunter in the active spot because basically you're protecting the future health of of Gengar. So Ghastly and Haunter, you want to protect those until Gengar's ready to go. So they don't want to be fighting anyway, right? We're probably not going to be attacking with I forget what the attack is called for the regular Haunter that we currently have in game. But Genetic Apex Haunter, we probably don't want to be attacking with him very often regardless. So if we are attacking, generally it's because we're going to be sniping off something that we have the ability to snipe off, or we're going to be forced to be attacking regardless. So this new Haunter that has a higher ceiling, even though there's a 50% chance that it does nothing, that higher ceiling, at least hopefully, will open up more options for us that we wouldn't otherwise have. Let's say there's something with 50 attack or 50 health left over in the active. That's something that the current Haunter we wouldn't have the option of pushing Genetic Apex Haunter to try and get that KO. But because this Haunter does have that upward ceiling, there's like some extra flexibility that we otherwise wouldn't have, where our current Haunter, our Genetic Apex Haunter, would just be still sitting on the bench and not doing anything. So yeah, basically because of that extra option, I think that this Haunter does have slightly more viability than current Haunter, but I don't think we're going to see that in any meaningful way because I still think Gengar's going to be too weak. So none of this conversation actually matters because Gengar sucks. But
yeah.
But yes, of the two, I think the new Haunter is slightly better. Ever so slightly. It's like a very minute difference, I think.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, generally, I think you just don't want your Haunter up there, which is why I got Kings in mind to just tank. Like, if your Haunter's out there and you have an XP, you're pulling it back. So why would you ever use the 70 over the 80? I guess if you're trying to win, maybe that 50 damage really does end up mattering. But we'll have to see. But I think regardless, they're both kind of like F tier cards that you're just messing around with, trying to have a good time if you're using them. I think we did our tier list, and I'm pretty sure Gengar was like F, right? He was like,
yeah, I mean,
he's the worst.
If it wasn't, it should have been. Okay, he sucks. Right?
Yeah,
Gengar is doo-doo. The nicest thing about Gengar is his health is really high. It's just his damage output is too low. Like 170 is like crazy amount of health.
Yeah, 100 HP more when you evolve from the new Haunter to the Gengar EX. So pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. This will be a F tier list. I think Jigglypuff might be in some maybe S, maybe A tier. I think it'd be cool if Jiggly may shake up the meta, right? Like a lot of people are putting Mewtwo out there or Moltres out there, and if you have Jigglypuff, you're putting them to sleep, and maybe they don't get that value. So maybe this shakes up the meta more than we expect, and then people will start Yeah, like playing a stage 2 line, like maybe Beedrill becomes way better if everyone's using Jigglypuff, because then you turn into Kakuna and then you hit it, and then they put you to
I'm not
sleep
sure
again.
whether I'm not sure who got you on this Beedrill copium,
I'm-
but that interaction is one that I didn't consider. Jigglypuff against Moltres. That's a really good. This is like a really nice start to the game because their Moltres doesn't want to be doing anything proactive. Well, they want to be doing something proactive, but nothing offensive. Right? They're not dealing damage for the first 3 turns of the game. So putting them to sleep and stalling that out is going to be really effective from the perspective of the Jigglypuff player. So that's kind of an interesting piece of the meta that I didn't consider.
Yeah, I think it's a cool tech card against a lot of the top meta performers, mostly Mewtwo, being in that active slot, and then also Moltres. And I guess Articuno. Like if you put those to sleep and they skip 1 turn and it's like the first turn, like that's pretty detrimental. So
I will say, for whatever it's worth, Charizard lists and Moltres, I should be more specific, Moltres lists, they're seeing a lot of play in tournaments, but I actually don't see them on ladder very much at all. Do you see them? These guys don't even exist for me. I never find them.
I see them every now and then, but I feel like maybe people stopped being as sweaty and they're just trying to have a good time and they're just messing around. I do see a lot of experimental stuff, which has been nice. Save the sweaty, try hard stuff for your tournaments, you know, and just trying to have a good time on ladder because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
it especially doesn't matter because we don't even have a ladder. But
yeah. Well, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, maybe that kind of wraps it up, I think. Right? Is there anything else? What do you?
Nothing that comes to mind, you know.
No, there's
one the Jigglypuff, fun and exciting.
Yeah, it'll be a good event. These the current events are kind of a little smelly, a little stinky. You said so.
Yeah, the current events we have in game are like they don't really apply to players like you and I who have been around since the New Zealand days. It's just like it's stuff to pad out your collection. Like the fire event is literally useless to us, right? We have 2 copies of every fire Pokemon, so it's cool for people who are trying to get copies of Arcanine, especially now that Arcanine is seeing more play. But yeah, it's just, the events that are in game right now are just not for us.
I think one of the reasons why this one doesn't feel as good to me as like the Meowth Chansey one was we don't have like promo arts for the cards. Like that kind of made it a little fun. You were chasing the promos, maybe trying to get several copies so you could flare them out. At least that's what I was going for. But now it's just that's not a thing. It's literally just the same stuff. So if you're building out your collection, it's nice. And if you aren't, it's a little boring. A little boring, the current event.
It is what it is. You got that Growlithe though. Look at that. That Growlithe is all yours now.
Yeah, now I have like 30, but that's a first world problem, I think. But that wraps it up for this episode. And say goodbye, Willow.
Bye, guys.